Let's move on to the East Rail mixed use.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to actually turn it over to Tori Edwards, who's here this evening. She is helping with the conversation on the creative districts. This is a conversation that's not necessarily city-driven, but I think maybe has some interest as we talk about, like, how do we bring out what is Woodinville? And I think the arts is a great place to have that conversation. Tori, I've got the clicker for you. We'll hear kind of what the Creative District program is, and then I think see how that discussion maybe dovetails into our next piece, which is the East Rail Mixed Use District that Planning Commission is working on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I was going to say, can we do like a 7th inning stretch? Does everybody just want to like get up for a second? It's a little long, a little late. I'm turning into a pumpkin, but I'm going to try to get some excitement into this because actually it was funny. Mr. Kakayama's book, as I was making the slideshow, I felt like I was introducing a new boyfriend to all my friends. Like, I'm like, I love this thing and I want you to love this thing. So that's how I came across it today. So I'm here to talk about the Woodinville Creative District. I know there's been some conversations that have been able to happen. This is a very new project, but this is our first official opportunity to kind of bring it forth and get you all in the loop. So what is a creative district? Washington State Arts Commission, otherwise known as ArtsWA, started this program to help communities turn cultural activities into economic growth. So just so that that's an understanding, that's the context of this, is it's about supporting the economy through the creative economy. They did receive a WIDA Innovation and Economic Development Award for this program because it significantly improved a community's ability to attract and keep investment. So that was one of the things we were trying to bring along. The one thing for everyone to be aware of is that it does have to be geographically defined. You don't just get the stamp that like the city of Woodinville is a creative district. We do have to designate where we want this to live. And specifically, I want to make sure people understand that when we say creative, it's not just the arts. The arts are amazing, but it is additionally culture, heritage. It's really just about the creative sector in general. And so they say they call them creative districts a place where innovation and creativity can thrive and a place that helps the community move enthusiastically into the future. So I like that. This is just a quick sample of, I think, the 18 current creative districts across Washington State. Just so people know we'd be in good company. There's some that are local here. You could go check them out and see how they've done things, just to get an idea of what's possible. But specifically, why would we want to do this besides just the sort of general scope of how it could help us as a city? There is some support that ArtsWA actually brings along with it when we get this official designation, is that they give us 10,000 startup operating grants that we can actually launch the district, and there's up to $50,000 in capital project funding for small scale projects. We could have all sorts of fun talking about what that could be. There's some technical assistance. They help us track our process and progress. And there's actually an annual conference that I already got to attend because we are in this process. And it's an opportunity for the creative districts to come together. So I got to go to Chewelah. I've never been to Chewelah, never even heard of Chewelah, but it was fun to see what they were doing and talk to the other districts and see what they're up to. So as we were approaching this idea, I just wanted to point out this is not even everything that already goes on in Woodinville in the arts, culture, and heritage areas. And it's a lot. Like, you can't even probably tell what most of those are because they're tiny pictures. But we've got everything from, as we've said, the Woodinville Arts Alliance has their shows, the Woodinville Repertory Theater, Pride Festival, Chateau Saint Michel concerts. I could keep going. But just to say that that's setting the stage for why this is a good idea for us. I call it the right idea at the right time. Not only do we already have this flourishing community of arts, culture, and heritage, but as I've been able to go through and build this team and have conversations, there's just been this kind of recurring themes. A lot of organizations have these ideas that they're trying to get off the ground that maybe individually they're struggling a bit, and that's where a creative district can come around and help with that collaboration and bringing those actually to fruition. There's also just a recognition that we've had a lot of change and growth in our town, a lot of development, and so there's an interest to really get a more cohesive vision together to say who Woodinville is. And I think a creative district feels like a really natural venue for that. So just to give you an idea of where we've been and how we've got here, starting last summer, this was actually kind of brought to the attention. Councilmember Sarah Perry, as part of her time in King District 3, is focusing on creative economy, and so she encouraged all of the towns and her locale to look into it. So Mary Milliman approached a few people, and I was very eager to step in. And it's been actually really interesting. We've had sort of a cohort of creative district potentials in District 3 getting together and working through it. But so we started gathering a team, and we started meeting in the fall of 2023. And we started with just a survey. We sent out just a quick questionnaire trying to get an idea of who Woodinville is, who they want to be, what they think of arts and culture. And additionally, we did some different presentations, some different workshops. I'll get into more detail on that. But we came back from some of those public outreach opportunities and had started to draft our application. In case you don't know, it's actually like a 30-page document that has to have a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. We have to have a nonprofit administrator attached to it. It is kind of a big deal. It's not just like, hey, let's do this thing. So along the way, this is a little more detail on that. There's about 22 of us who are actually creating the committee and the teams. We've met for about 17 hours as a committee with over 55 other hours of meetings. We did about 9 of those partner organization workshops and presentations, which covered about 95 members. And additionally, that public survey had about 200 responses, including 42 additional hours of public input. And all those logos you see on the side are representative of some of the people who are on these committees. So again, it's a pretty broad interest and groundswell of recognition that this is a thing that we should see happen in Woodinville. These are just some of the answers from the survey. We just wanted to, again, kind of get to know who's here, so people who like art, and you would think that because it was a creative district, like we would get the highest input of people saying they liked art, but the universality of nature lovers is definitely a thing here in Woodinville. So I'm excited to see that maybe our next huge project as a city is a park. Like that feels like a really natural place for us to be. The one thing I did also want to point out is we actually have Performing Arts Center and Cultural Center as 2 different items in this survey. We could talk about whether those should actually be the same thing, but they also had a clear interest behind it. So there is that recognition of those sort of third places, gathering spots that people want to see. So just to tell you a little bit more about our mission, I'm not going to dive too far into this. Again, it's late. But I just want to show you that we do have one. If you go to woodinvillecreative.com or Woodinville Creative on Facebook or Instagram, you can start finding more information. We're also going to have an open house December 7th at Winterfest, where you can engage with us and have a little more time to kind of deep dive with some of our team. But just that we want to nurture and grow an inclusive, dynamic, sustainable arts and culture ecosystem in Woodinville. I think that feels like something we can all get behind. I wanted to say that as we've met, it's been so good to get so many diverse voices at the table, because you would hear these ideas that you wouldn't have by yourself, but it's also been really beneficial to see all those places that we do overlap and we do agree, and to see that that's sort of clarifying for us. Our vision is to be a beacon of artistic and cultural excellence in the Pacific Northwest. We decided we were just going to aim high. We have noticed that Woodinville as a whole is very interested in quality. We still kind of just want to be casual about it. But that means that excellence is definitely a thing that can thrive there. Our values I want to touch on a little bit more specifically: inclusivity, encouraging and amplifying diversity, wellness, providing social connection for the benefit of overall health was something that has definitely been coming up more, especially as we talk about our demographics, our teens. There's a serious recognition of mental health and well-being being a thing that we need to focus on. I think COVID also helped us all realize that that's going Cultural storytelling. We really want to actually, again, embrace and talk about who Woodinville is and make that really clear and communicated throughout town. Economic vitality. This is, after all, an economic initiative, so stimulate growth and support local businesses. But we want to do it sustainably. We want to strive for long-term community and environmental health. We want to obviously do creativity. It's a creative district, so foster and celebrate artistic expression. I love the idea of more murals, and again, that's one of the obvious ways to tell our story, so there's all these ways we can connect the dots. Again, with our demographics of some youth and teens and families, education is really important to a lot of people in this area, and so we want to actively involve residents in decision-making and empower through education and arts and culture. And then again, collaboration. In an environment where creatives find partnership and community, because as we noticed that people were trying to kind of work on their own, we can do so much more together, as Marilyn was saying. So this is kind of the meat. This is our proposed map of the district with that little asterisk that I wanted to point out that this is not set in stone. You actually have to renew your creative district status every few years, and at that time you are able to adjust your boundaries. And another little note to this is that they do want you to connect it to sort of spaces and things that are already activated, and that have the possibility to support creative economy. I don't know how well you all can see from the back. I know it's a Google Maps, but we've got sort of the Woodinville Heritage Society down on the right, 21 acres down in the middle, all the way over swinging in Wilmette Gateway Park is included, and Old Town. And then we included the East Rail Corridor because we are recognizing that there is this thing that has already gotten funding, is already a plan in progress. And so we think there's a lot of opportunity there. So some of these are the idea that there's public art installations, there's venues that are already activated. Again, if you want to see this in more detail, I would say come to the open house or let me know. But speaking of those spaces, all of that public input, that 3 to 5 year strategic plan, this is kind of where we think we're going. We are not necessarily seeing ourselves as a programming organization. We are there to support and facilitate and help collaboration. So one of the things that came out of that public input was the need for a central events calendar. In the time that we're in with sort of dispersed information streams, we're looking at seeing how we can find that place that everyone knows they can go to find out everything that's going on. And again, all those little yellow dots that showed public art, we have a lot of it. The stories, as we were saying, about the basset hounds, about the cougar, we are interested in creating a public art app where people can actually find that information and learn those stories. Those are pretty fast and easy. There's obviously some work involved, but there's not necessarily a lot of infrastructure that has to happen to create those. So we're looking at those sooner. Later, we're interested in working with the city on accessibility, signage, and wayfinding, ways that we can bring in a creative aspect to that. Storefront opportunities, we've definitely talked to our artists and our small businesses who'd like to see more of that, and that arts and cultural center that the community is feeling that they need. So those are some of the things we're looking at. Creativity, this is how I kind of have been approaching the creative district, is the art of connecting ideas. And I think of creative community as the art of using ideas to connect people. And we are very excited to partner with the city, if we can, to make all of that happen. So that was my quick and
Thank you very much.